This lecture is on visual elements, principles of design. Some of the concepts that we're going to talk about are line, rhythm, repetition, balance, shape, and scale. These terms can be used to talk about art. The first term that we're going to talk about is line. Lines can be active. They can be static. A static line would be something that would be just very straight and either a vertical or a horizontal line. Aggressive lines tend to be diagonal in shape. We have passive lines. Lines can also be sensual. You can also have just a mechanical line. So lines, they can indicate direction. They can define boundaries of shapes and spaces. Lines can imply volume or mass. They can suggest motion or emotion. A line is just an extension of a point. It's a basic means for recording and symbolizing ideas. In Vincent van Gogh's Olive Tree, we have a number of different lines that are being employed here in this painting, done in 1889. You could say that the lines are rather active. They're also aggressive. They suggest motion with the way that they're curved. There's a pattern that is created, and there's also a texture that you can see in the paint. So the active is the line that is curved, not straight. And emotion is created by the rhythm that conveys his intense feelings according to art forms. Let's take a look here at the Art21 website. And when I talked about being able to zoom in the brush strokes, here on the Minneapolis Institute of Art's webpage, you can see the actual brush strokes and how they're layered and create this sense of feeling and emotion. Another point about lines is that they indicate direction. They can, as I mentioned, define boundaries, create motion. Here's an example of Anne Hamilton's installation called Ghost, a Border Act. Now, in looking at this piece, if we were to talk about it in terms of its line, you could refer to the lines that are created by the silk fabric, the folds in the fabric. The video projection has a line going through that. Here's another image of that installation, and in talking about it in terms of line, the beams throughout the gallery create a rhythm, and you can see the lines here on the left created by these beams, as well as the lines in the fabric. Lines are also, as a way it can create, generate light. Lines can be used to show and make shadows. Lines can be drawn to create patterns and texture, as we saw in the Vincent van Gogh. Here's Larry Pittman's piece called Out of the Frost, and it's acrylic on wood and with oil, done in 1986, and it's from the PBS Art website. Now, here if we were to talk about the lines, well, we've got these circular shapes, and we'll talk about the geometric shapes that are in this piece, but there are many different types of lines. You have these very thick, straight lines. So you've got these static lines here on the left with this painted brown, and you've got these circular lines that create motion, plus these diagonals here of white that also create a sense of motion. So rhythm is the regular recurrence of elements. It can create movement, and it generates a sequence. In Layla Ali's piece, seen here, untitled, Gouache on Paper, done in 2000, there's a real sense of rhythm that's created, not only through the repetition of the figures, but then the strong diagonal lines by their, formed by their legs. So you've got a diagonal that you see in each of these figures' legs, plus you've got a strong diagonal in the curve of the arm. You've got these geometric shapes that we'll talk about in a bit with the circular shape of their head. So this creates a real sense of rhythm. And in fact, Ali said from the Art 21 website, quote, "Well, more than symmetry, I think it's a kind of visual rhythm in the work. I feel like I have these rhythms that I work on, and I don't know music, so I'm going to make up my own terms, rhythms and subrhythms. The structural things have a kind of patterning or beat to them," unquote, Layla Ali. Repetition in work. Well, it creates a sense of unity. There can be continuity that's created through repetition. There's a general sense of flow and emphasis on a work when you see repetition represented in artwork. So in Bruce Naumann's piece that we see here, which is neon tubing mounted on 4 metal monoliths, there's an incredible sense of repetition, and with each of these columns of text, the repetition of the words, live and die, live and die. It says kiss and die, well and die, so yellow and die. So this repetition that you get gives you this incredible sense of motion and feeling. In this next piece, we've got Ellen Gallagher in her Excelanto. And here too, there's a great sense of repetition. You've got these small figures, these yellow and black squares of figures of people's heads that generate a strong sense of rhythm. It's that regular reoccurrence of elements. It's also a sequencing that generates rhythm. Balance. Now, balance is a term that is often used in artwork in many different ways. Balance is the achievement of equilibrium in which acting influence are held in check by opposing forces. So this balance of opposing forces can be either a physical balance, but it also can be a visual balance. So if a painting is unbalanced, it will lack the expressive power to convince us that something was, for instance, a battle was terrible or a fall was disastrous. Without balance, it may not be a good painting, according to Preble's art forms. And in life, as in art, we strive for